she told me about an opportunity to go be an intern for Lee Daniels in New York City for his company, Lee Daniels Entertainment. And I was like, okay, since I'm not ready to go back to school, I gotta find something to do. And so I said, okay, I'm gonna try for it. So I remember sending in my resume, and I sent my director's reel at that time, and I think like a week later, I got word back that they wanted me, right? So I was supposed to get to New York and do this internship, right? And I actually had to tell them that I needed a little more time before coming up there because, of course, I didn't currently live in New York, and so I asked them, for a few weeks, and so they gave me a few weeks to kind of get myself together before coming up there, and I remember that I think they had told me that they were trying to get me there. There was a big film festival coming up called Urban World Film Festival in New York City, and they wanted me to be up there before that festival because they had a movie that was coming out and that was like, I guess, making its rounds at the festivals. And it was a movie called Tennessee. It was an independent film that they produced called Tennessee, and it was starring Mariah Carey. And it was like a small film, small independent film that Mariah Carey did. And it was at festivals at that time, and they wanted me to come up in time for that, but I couldn't get there in time because I didn't have any money. So I needed a few weeks to kind of like save up some money before I moved to New York, right? So I think I waited I think it was about 4 weeks that I saved money, and then finally I think I flew I flew into New York, and from Florida, and I think I flew into Pittsburgh. Actually, I flew into Pittsburgh where I have relatives, and then from there I took the Greyhound into New York City, right? Into what is it called? Is it from Pittsburgh, and it takes you straight into Times Square, basically, like Port Authority, Times Square. And that was my first time ever in New York City. And so this was the fall of 2008, and I was I would have been 24. All right, I would have been 24. And so the first thing that I remember when I got there was that I had tried to secure a place to stay before I got there, and I remember I used Craigslist to find like a room to crash in. I remember, I'll never forget this experience. My very first impression of New York was, I remember leaving the bus station, and I went to meet up with the person that I was going to that was like basically facilitating where I was going to stay at, right? So I remember going to meet up with them, and I was supposed to stay in I was renting a room inside of like an apartment. And I remember meeting up with the guy. I remember God, my life. I remember meeting up with the guy. I remember, we make the transaction. I give him the money, he didn't give me a key. I don't think he gave me a key, but like I think he gave me the information. Maybe he gave me a key. I can't remember, but basically gave me, you know, the instructions on what I need to do. I needed to go to this address, and you know they would get me, you know, in. It was like a, you know, well, okay. He gave me whatever I needed to get me into the apartment, right? So I go to the apartment. It was in like one of those high rises, right? I don't even remember where it was. Maybe it was in Brooklyn. Maybe I don't know. And I remember when I got there to the apartment. I remember I don't know if it was him that walked me there or if I went there by myself, but either way, when I got there and they showed me what it was and showed me my room, basically, I don't even think it was a room. I think it was like a shared room in a family apartment where there was all these people, and they were like Hispanic. It was like a Hispanic family with a bunch of young kids, and it was like I think I had like a little bed. So I think I remember being like, I can't stay here. Like, what the fuck is this, right? And so I remember going back to the guy. I think he was like downstairs or something. And I remember I was like, you know, I don't want to take this. This is not what this is not what I thought I was paying for. And I remember he was like, well, you know, your money's already gone. Because I was like, you know, I'll just take my money back and figure out something else. And he was like, no, you don't get your money back because you already gave it to me. And so we don't give the money back. Your money's already gone. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I was just down here. So like this wasn't what I thought I was paying for. So basically, he scammed me. So, and I think I felt like at that time, and this is just like my naivete, and I want to say this too, like my family, like I had like my mom and probably my dad and some other relatives that I told that I got this internship because I was really excited about this internship because at the time I knew who Lee Daniels was, but he wasn't super well known. Like he wasn't like a household name yet. But I knew who he was because I studied the industry and I knew who all the players were, even especially like the black, you know, players, who the black directors were, who the top black producers were and all that stuff. I knew, you know, I kept up with what films were at the festivals and like I knew all that stuff. So I was stoked to get the opportunity to be an intern for Lee Daniels, right? But nobody else in my life understood that, you know, the ones who weren't in the industry. So I remember I had like one of my uncles. He had cautioned me. He didn't feel like I should do the internship at all. So I say all that just to say is that I didn't have a lot of support with going and doing this opportunity in New York, right? So anyway, yeah. So this motherfucker scammed me out of my room, right? So that was like a big growing up moment in my life, and that's one of those lessons that I feel like I only needed to learn once, right? That taught me, okay, this is real life, and from that point on, it was like I was like hyper vigilant about everything. Like I wasn't gonna be a dummy, you know, more than once, right? So I was like, fuck. And so it was like pretty much all the money that I had that I gave over to this guy. And so I was like, fuck, what am I going to do? Now I'm here in New York. Now I'm basically stranded. And I have no money because I just gave it to this guy and he just basically stole it from me. Right. And I never did anything like that on Craigslist after that ever again. Like that I learned my lesson. So, I remember calling a friend of mine from